it always took about a year from starting the process to actually going live in preparation. So
Wow.
it's a combination of making sure you have the right samples together with shooting the content and editing the content, but also warming up your leads. So collecting leads before the campaign that are going to invest in the campaign from the beginning, and reaching out to PR before you go live, which usually is a 3 month run-up period.
Welcome to the Redefine Growth podcast. Today, again, a very special guest. Is Kickstarter still hot today? What are the key ingredients for launching a successful $1 million Kickstarter campaign? You're going to find out today. Stay tuned.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. My name is Oliver. I'm one of the founders at Ekster. We make better gear for life on the go, starting off with the first trackable wallet. And this year is the year of travel for us. So we're going to build some groundbreaking new travel gear. We released our first backpack last year and are hoping to really take it to the next level this year with new bags and luggage. I was living in Hong Kong at the time. It was my second year of university in Rotterdam, and I was doing an internship in Hong Kong for a big commodity trading firm, which is the last thing I would ever do in life, I think, because I'm horrible at finance, and I was in the treasury department. So going to work in a suit every day with a suitcase, like, just a typical 9-to-5 job, bored out of my mind. And at some point I realized, okay, I'm never going to end up doing a job like this. And I was also inspired by the city. I moved around my whole youth, I would say. So every 5 years we moved to a new country, and I was inspired by being in Hong Kong and loved to just go to the market, walk around. And I noticed that people were paying with their phones at the market while they were buying like onions or meat. And I was like, wow, like, how are people using QR codes here? And the people in Europe are still carrying these fat bifold wallets. Like, what's going on here? So I called up one of my good friends who I met in the States. He was also studying in Rotterdam, and I said, "There's something here. Like, we can definitely innovate the wallet in Europe and maybe even in the States." So we started doing some research and realized that there was no modern wallets out there. People were carrying fat bifold wallets, or they were just carrying their cash and cards in their pockets. So we started researching on Kickstarter. We looked at what was available on the market and did some research into what are the biggest issues with wallets, and realized that, the number one issue is people losing their wallet. But there was no AirTag, there was no tracker available, nothing on the market at the time in 2015. So we decided we wanted to build the next generation smart wallet and started sketching, talking to prototyping companies. But we had no money, obviously. We literally we were students. We had no funding or anything to get started. So we decided to build a campaign and go live on Kickstarter.
Cool. I have some similarities here. I also studied in Rotterdam and also had no money back in the time.
Yeah, we all start there.
Yeah, nice. And do you come from an entrepreneurial family, or did you always wanted to become an entrepreneur, or is it just the opportunity that came by and you grabbed it? Or?
I think I come from a very creative family. So even though my dad was, in a corporate life most of his life, he did start an entrepreneurial journey later. I think after a career of 25, 30 years at Heineken. So, but I think what mostly inspired me is just the creativity that my dad gave to his kids and my mom as well. They were all very artsy and always drawing and sketching and creating little skits, making music. Like, it was always about making something. And for me as well, I wanted to be an architect when I was a kid. I loved drawing houses and building stuff. So I think that's kind of the root of it all for me.
Nice. Yeah, what I love about your business is that you're actually making a product. Yeah. So obviously we're in the services business, but I always love and I think there's a different challenge there as well when it comes to actually making a product and offering it. So today we're going to dive into the crowdfunding campaign that you did, and you did that quite successfully. So you had no money. You had a product in mind. You were talking to designers, prototyping experts. What made you come up with doing a crowdfunding campaign?
So precisely what you mentioned, no money, no experience. I would say, but one of the first things that really pushed us towards Kickstarter is we talked to, I think, 12 different prototyping companies in the Netherlands because we knew we didn't have the means to design and create this first sample. And 11 out of the 12 told us no. They literally told us, okay, you guys are both 22, you have no experience, this project is way too advanced, there's no way this is going to work out, and you don't have the funds to make it happen. So we're going to pass on this. And there was one based in Groningen, which was like an entrepreneurial department of a huge prototyping company. And it was just a small department with 2 people. And this was, I think, one of their first projects with like a starting company. So they thought, you know, let's take the risk. Let's do it for a tiny fee. Maybe it becomes something big, and maybe later we can work together. So that inspired us. Okay, bigger corporations are not going to give us funding. We need to do this ourselves. We need to really fight for it. And we were already Kickstarter fans at the time. So we kept looking at new projects on Kickstarter. And by then we were almost Kickstarter professionals because we just analyzed all these different campaigns and we knew what they all had in common. So we felt like we were already 2 steps ahead when it came to crowdfunding.
Cool. You're talking about analyzing different campaigns and trying to understand what makes them successful. Can you take us along in the steps that you need to take to set up a successful Kickstarter campaign?
Yeah, it's definitely a big one, but I'll just go through the highlights. So it really starts off with understanding the algorithm of Kickstarter. If you don't know what success means, then you're not going to be able to build a successful campaign. And people often think that if the idea is innovative enough and you launch it on a Kickstarter or Indiegogo, then it'll just take off by itself because people, you know, the customers will understand the innovation. But that's like so far removed from the truth. It's really all about growth hacking and hacking away at the system. So looking at which levers can I pull to make this a successful campaign. And I think that it all starts at the beginning where the first 24 hours are the most crucial part of your whole campaign because that's where the algorithm defines, you know, how far you'll be pushed up on the popular page of Kickstarter. And the popular page pretty much is the most visited page on Kickstarter, and it has most of the traffic internally from Kickstarter. So if you really want to be seen and found by customers when they're browsing Kickstarter, then you need to be high on the popular page. And there's a few things that help you play around with the algorithm. So first of all, engagement on your campaign. Obviously, purchases. So if people, like every order helps you, you know, increase your position on the popular page. But on top of that, comments on your campaign. So making sure that people are interactive with the founders of the campaign, which you can stimulate by doing more updates. Also, views on your campaign video is a big one. There's tricks to get more views. There's ways to get more pledges, you know, by creating lower average order value rewards for people to buy. Many campaigns do like a $1 average order value rewards that, you know, a few thousand people would buy that to get something for free, and that would help them increase their position.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's a lot of small details to this. I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but it's really about hacking the algorithm. And then after that, obviously, maybe that's before the hacking, but the whole campaign itself, the structure. If you look at the top 10 best performing campaigns right now that are active, like let's say 2 million plus, they all have the same structure. They have a super clear and engaging video, which is like 90% of your success. Then they have a very clean structure which shows social proof, like PR mentions. Then goes into like the super simple, detailed features of the product. Then it goes into like the story, then into the timeline of when the customer will receive it. So it's all about benchmarking the top performing campaigns out there, and also simplicity. So don't confuse your customer. Keep it super simple when it comes to the rewards on the right side. Like, people don't want to choose out of 50 options. They just want to know what is the best deal that I can get right now. And 90% of people will order black, you know, just like they do with clothing. It's always like, just keep it as simple as possible.
A big thank you to our sponsor, Sprints and Sneakers. Do you like this episode? Please like and subscribe. Feels almost like you're talking about an optimized landing page, how you describe it with the video, with the offer, and etc. And one of the questions I have is, what is the balance between, obviously, I think a lot of people would think that a platform takes care of all the traffic and all the engagement and all that. But what is, in your opinion, the balance between what the platform is doing for you and what you should take care of yourself in the campaign?
So the nice thing about Kickstarter is you're getting revenue that you would never get if you would launch it on your own website, because Kickstarter has its own community and it's very community driven. So I think we ended our campaign with about 40% revenue from people that came from Kickstarter,
okay,
and 60% from people that came from outside. So from ads, email marketing, PR. But halfway through the campaign, it was about 80% Kickstarter people. So that pretty much meant that our initial success was based on the people that found us on the popular page, because the algorithm pushed us to the top and people that were browsing found it and thought, okay, this is cool, I'll buy it. And then halfway through the campaign, as soon as we kind of plateaued, which happens to every campaign because the urgency is gone, we started really investing in performance marketing. So just a lot of Instagram and Facebook ads. And that's when the bulk of our customers came in. And at that point, we got about, like I said, around 60% outside customers. And in the end, you can get only so far with the Kickstarter community. And it's a great start to give people the social proof they need to invest in your crowdfunding campaign. But if you really want to make it into, the 400K plus campaigns, then you need significant effort from, outside sources. So performance marketing, email marketing, PR, joining communities, cross-promoting with other campaigns. So in the end, like, your own effort is most important if you want to scale big.
Yeah, interesting. And also one of the campaigns we did in the past was for a book, where we got a lot of people, instead of paying like a fee for the public speaker, the author of the book, we got a lot of people to buy the book around the same time. So it also increased in popularity, and then you get a lot more visibility with the thing. So I think that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
You were talking about PR, performance marketing, email, communities. It sounds to me like you need a budget for it to do the campaign. Can you share something about that?
Yeah. So we didn't have any fun, like we didn't have any money available. I think our total campaign to build and to get online cost us about €1,000 out of pocket. And that was by working with my sister for the video, working with friends as models, like literally prototyping everything yourself.
Bootstrapping.
Like, if you see it now, like to me at least, it's painful to watch, but it's crazy to see what the ROI was on like $1,000 investment. So in terms of budget, there's a lot of ways, because there's companies that are built solely to support Kickstarter campaigns. And there's Facebook agencies that are really just fully built up to help Kickstarter campaigns grow. And those are the ones that we worked with. They're more expensive in hindsight now. Like now that we have our own funding or our own revenue coming in, we wouldn't work with them anymore because they're so expensive. But back in the day, they would cover all of your ad spend from the very beginning to the end of the campaign. And we're talking like, over $100,000 just covered by them in ad spend that we would have never been able to cover. And we would have never reached this many people if they didn't cover it. So
is that the agency?
Yeah, that's the agency. So they have just their credit card line. They take all the spend, but they also, there's like obviously an agreement that they get we have to pay them back, and they get a certain percentage over each sale.
Oh, wow.
So, and just like Facebook, there's a lot of agencies for everything, like PR agencies that work on a no cure, no pay basis. Everything we did was not out of pocket. So it was all like covered by other agencies, which it takes away a lot of your margin, but it also helps you scale.
Is that only for the Kickstarter campaign or also afterwards?
Only Kickstarter.
Okay.
Yeah. Because after that, we got the funding, and then we were just super meticulous with how we spent the money. So we just made sure that the margins were big enough. We would, scale gradually, slowly, but not as hardcore as we did with Kickstarter. And then over the years, just built it up.
And do you also build an audience with the Kickstarter campaign, because you're using their platform? Is that information and data that's available to you, or is it Kickstarter that's maintaining that data?
So you can export everything. So all the information is yours, which is very nice. Where Amazon always keeps it to themselves, Kickstarter is just an open platform. So at the end, you get this huge file, which probably 90% of laptops can't even open. It's a huge Excel file, and you export it, has every single detail that you need for this customer to send them the products. And that's also where like shit went wrong for us because our whole fulfillment was a mess because we were trying to work with that file. But yeah, that's another topic.
Wow. And can you take me along in the timeline? So what is the timeline around a Kickstarter campaign? When do you start? When do you launch? What's the after sales or like the period we're looking at? So.
Yeah. So a lot of people came to us for help after our campaign succeeded, and you'd be surprised how many people think that they can set up a campaign in 2 weeks and go live next month. But if I look back at how we did it, and we did a few campaigns after as well, it always took about a year from starting the process to actually going live in preparation. So it's a combination of making sure you have the right samples together with shooting the content and editing the content, but also warming up your leads. So collecting leads before the campaign that are going to invest in the campaign from the beginning, and reaching out to PR before you go live, which usually is a 3-month run-up period. So there's so many moving parts, and including a buffer for delays, I would always say you need at least a year. And if you want to do it quicker, that's fine. Like you'll probably skip a few steps and it's going to be less detailed. But if you want to do it the right way, it's almost like a big new product launch that you can't do that in 2 months either. Like it needs a year of prepping with, starting from the sampling to launch.
Yeah.
And then after, obviously the campaign can take from 10 to 45 days. We usually opt for 45 days because there's just more opportunity to raise revenue. There's less urgency when you're in the middle of the campaign, but there's also just more opportunities to be featured by the press and get more funding. And then after the campaign, depending on how well your production is set up, we took about 5 months to deliver. So the first few months are just going up and down to China, making sure production is up and running, quality control. And then fulfillment will also, like for 5,000 orders, will take about a month in total with, depending on from where you're shipping. But we did everything from Hong Kong back then. And like I said, fulfillment was the biggest nightmare of our entire campaign. We thought we were like done with the hard stuff, and then just the shit show started.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can take from like the starting of an idea to delivering, I would say, a year and 6-7 months.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying as well. Is the period before launching, and I think that's a very underestimated period, because if we look at how we do product launches, the momentum to build before you go live, then it's mysterious. There's something new, it's innovative. There's a new wallet coming to the market, and I think that's where you can really build up the hype. And if you look at Venmo, for example, they really hype up the new model. They build a database, and then once you go live, you want to use that database to convert them into sales. Yeah. But once it's live, it's there. It's available. Yeah. It's not that you don't have that mysterious momentum or like that new thing anymore. So exactly. I believe that's the thing about what you're saying. Really leverage the period before going live. Build that momentum. Also PR-wise, there's coming something new. Everybody should be aware of it. And once it's there, and it's still nice, and you can still leverage that period. But I think that's it's a really good advice that you're giving to the listeners.
And the nice part about Kickstarter is that you know that there's a beginning and an end. So people, like the first few days are huge because people can get early birds and good discounts. Yeah. And then the last few days are huge because people know the campaign's ending and they'll never get that price again. So there's still some urgency with Kickstarter.
Yeah. Or you should do like a theater saying like, hey, the show's ending, and then they're back.
Yeah. But there are tricks for that though. Like
that's nice.
There's some nice tricks within Kickstarter. We can dive into that at some point if you want. But there's ways that you can limit the amount of early birds people can get. But Kickstarter allows you to extend that amount indefinitely. So you could say there's only 10 available, but then after that you could say there's 20, 30, 40. Right. And most Kickstarter campaigns use a tool that automatically extends this. So that it looks like there's only a few available, but there's actually more. So there's tricks to...
interesting. Yeah, let's dive into a little bit more detail. So let's go first into the back then Kickstarter, I think was quite popular, especially in a certain area of products or innovations. And how do you look at the current market in terms of crowdfunding and also like there are way more platforms, I believe. So is it still relevant to do crowdfunding? And if yes, what platform should we go to? And how did the landscape change? Is it still the big opportunity that you had when you did it?
So there's a reason we haven't done one in 3-4 years. I think it's all about the stage that you're at and also the resources you have available. As an existing brand, I'm not a big fan of using Kickstarter anymore because, like you said, the whole industry has changed. So people don't trust crowdfunding as much as they used to. 6-7 years ago, there were so many new, like, insane concepts that would go live on Kickstarter, and they would get millions of funding, and they would never deliver. And the hardcore Kickstarter fans would say, "Okay, it's fine. I'll come back and I'll buy some other stuff." But after 6 years of that, and so many flopping campaigns that never paid back their backers, it's gotten in such bad publicity over the past few years. So it's tougher to realize success on Kickstarter and all other platforms like Indiegogo as well. There's more competition, and the sentiment is just really bad. So I would say only go on Kickstarter if you really think your idea is innovative. So the thing with Kickstarter is every product has 50 features, right? They always show a diagram where they like point out like 60 different things that it does better than existing products. And those are the Kickstarter projects. But if you're just launching a fashion label or something simple, then I would say Kickstarter is not your platform because it's a lot of effort for what you're going to get back. And it's completely transparent. So you'll get comments that the whole world can see forever, and you can't edit them. You can't do anything about them. So there's a lot of like publicity that can be damaged there as well. It's a fully open platform. And I would recommend people that have no resources, that have an innovative idea and just have no other way to fund it, definitely to use crowdfunding, because it's also a nice tool to test what the market thinks of your idea. It doesn't have to succeed, but at least then you have a lot of feedback from your customers. But if you're an existing brand and you're just trying to find easy money, then I don't think Kickstarter is the way.
And is there an alternative that you see right now?
When it comes to crowdfunding?
Yeah, or in general, like if you're in the same situation that you were, you don't have money, you do have a good idea and potentially a product you can deliver. Where should you go?
I mean, I became a bigger fan of Indiegogo, which is also crowdfunding, but they're a lot more open to help out, and you can cut pretty cool deals with them. Our second campaign we did on Indiegogo, and we got some really, really good extra like bonus features. So they would like send campaigns to all of their newsletter subscribers. They would give us like certain discounts on fees. They would help boost our visibility on the platform because we could show that we'd had success in the past, but also because they're just very involved with each campaign. And Kickstarter is super cold to their campaign creators. They don't really communicate. You can reach out and then hope for an answer, but they never really get back to you. Alternative routes of funding, it's tough, man. Like we're in a really tough spot at the moment. Like, investors are being more careful this past year, and I think the coming years as well. It's preferably, I would always say, try to find your own way to fund it rather than giving away too much equity from the beginning. But if you really have no other like sources of funding, then crowdfunding is definitely the way to go.
Yeah. And what I do like about crowdfunding is that it's not only about getting the money, but also building up a fan base already in the early stage. Yeah. And I heard you saying you also learn a lot from your customers. So is that something you build in your campaign as well, to actually learn what they think and get that feedback?
Yeah, so back then we weren't really thinking about that too much. We just wanted to succeed. But in hindsight, it was the best school we ever had, because the nice thing about Kickstarter is that they're super open and really involved, and like if they could, they would join you in the design process. Like they would come to the office and help out. So the Kickstarter community is very close knit, and they want to help out. So we did weekly updates where we just tell them about what our process was, where we were at in production process, and we would always ask for feedback. Like, do you guys have any thoughts, any feedback, or any ideas for the product? and we'd get, you know, hundreds of comments, almost too many to keep track of. But it was also very nice. And I think opening yourself up and making yourself more vulnerable to your backers helps your relationship with them as well. And it also gives you more leeway if you fuck up. Like they're a bit more chill about everything. If you're just always transparent and just tell them about every delay, then they're way more cool about it.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
One other example I find quite interesting is an example of community-led growth is, do you know Brewdog?
Mm-hmm.
They have a community of about 200,000 people. And I remember when I was back in the UK in my previous work, and I was drinking a beer, and the guy, it was a punk beer, and the guy said to me like, "Oh, yeah, we have to drink more of these tonight. It's good for my shares." I was like, "What?" And they monetize, or like they use the community to raise money. And actually millions, I think in total, like they did 20 million now, and they took over bars. And the fun thing that they build in, what I believe is, when you become an investor and you bring on 5 new investors, you get an additional discount on every in every bar where they serve Brewdog beers.
Nice.
And if you even get 5 more investors, you get like a 20% lifetime 20% discount in their web shop. So they encourage more transactions, give more discount, and also the referral within that community-led growth. I think it's quite interesting, and it's maybe an alternative towards crowdfunding, but maybe a little bit hard. Do you think you can, if you're looking back at your campaign, do you think you would be successful if you tried it yourself without the platform?
Yeah, without the platform. So you're seeing that more and more these days, especially brands that have done it in the past on Kickstarter are now doing it on their own website because they want to save that 5% and they want more control, like less visibility of comments and stuff like that. We were 22, had no experience whatsoever in any business. We were just students. So we really needed this back end to make it a success. And also the visibility on the platform was big for us. But now, I would say right now it would be a great option for us. Like we see a lot of brands now doing pre-orders as well, so that they don't even call it crowdfunding. Yeah. They just do pre-orders and they deliver 5 months later, but they just make it super urgent. They say that there's only 500 units ever made, and people, they buy it. So and some brands do a crowdfunding campaign on their website. They show the amount of funding, which I mean, not all customers trust it. You know, you could fake the heck out of it, but
I remember the crypto times where they say, "Oh, we raised 2 million," and actually it was only like 100K, but nobody knew, and then they disappeared after a year.
Kind of stuff. So I would say that's a good option if you're established. But if you don't have any experience whatsoever, then the Kickstarter platform is super useful.
Yeah, and I do believe that if you're doing it yourself, you were talking about all these agencies that helped you out, you know, and you had good deals. It sounds like you had good deals with them. If you're doing it yourself, you have to be very aware of the resources you need to actually build up that hype and the traffic. And could you maybe explain a little bit more on what you did PR-wise, for example, to get a lot of attention?
Yeah, those were really the good old days. It's when time didn't cost money because we were students, and we didn't have an office. We would sit in the university library, just 2 little laptops next to each other, and we would just scavenge the web to find articles about other wallets and trackable accessories. Anything we could find in that category, we would put into an Excel sheet, manually find the journalist, find their email just by Googling and even reaching out to them on Twitter. We would just tweet at people and try to find their email. Super manual work, and it took weeks. And we built a list of about 1,000 journalists that were hyper niche in the wallet space. And we reached out to each of them manually as well through Gmail. So we knew that if we would do a mass email, then maybe only 20% would open. So we reached out manually, each person through Gmail, and the response was incredible. And I wouldn't say I would do it again now, but if you're starting out and you have all the time in the world, then that's the way to go, because it's super personalized. And these journalists, they notice that it's personal, right? It's not a mass email that enters their inbox out of the 50 other emails they get every day. So we reached out with a very short, clean pitch tried to not make it too over the top. We just said, we're building the next generation wallet. There's nothing like it. We'd love to send you a sample once they're here. Check it out. And I don't think we've ever had such a high hit rate on like PR outreach. Wow. We got picked up by the biggest names in the States, like CNN, Discovery Channel, Engadget, Mashable. They all covered the campaign, and that became like a snowball effect. So as soon as the top 4 picked us up, we just like, it just kept coming. So we just had a huge, I think we had like over 100 features at some point during our Kickstarter campaign, and we could use those quotes in our ads and put them on the campaign. And it's kind of that feeling of when you're onto something. That's the feeling we had, because the ball started rolling.
Yeah, and what I like about what you're saying is that you really found that niche, you personalized it, and I think nowadays you can get those email addresses a little bit easier. Yeah. We can also scrape like the most recent post the journalist did, because actually PR, you're doing the work of the journalist, so the better you understand what they like to write about or how they write, the better you're capable of doing their work, so the higher the chance probably is that they're actually going to post it. And then second, what I think is very valuable is even if you pay for one article somewhere, grab that article and then push that to other journalists, because they're often right about the same things, similar things. So that's something our listeners can bring home.
We didn't think about that back then. So we all just wanted to do as cheap as possible. Yeah. But one thing you mentioned is like referencing a recent article in your pitch works super well. Yeah, like telling them, like, yo, I saw you wrote about this. We have this and this.
Business Insider wrote about us, and probably you want to write about us too, right? Yeah, so if they write about, that's a good one. And you were talking about performance marketing, and the one thing pops into my mind is you're using Kickstarter. You want to do performance marketing. Are you capable of tracking that?
That is one of the pitfalls of Kickstarter, and I think they've improved it a little bit by now, but their back end has stayed the same for years. Right. Tracking ads on the back end of Kickstarter is a nightmare. There are ways, but you need to either build a system yourself, or you need to work with an agency that has done it before. So the agency we worked with is called Gelop. They're still the biggest performance marketing agency for Kickstarter, I believe. And they built this attribution system, which was very new for its time, where they could really track how many conversions were coming through. Yeah. You can add your pixel to the back end of Kickstarter, but it just, for some reason, rarely tracks. It just doesn't work. Oh. So either you have to build a system yourself or work with an agency that does it.
Yeah, and I think looking at the time we have ahead, that will become even harder, I think, to measure those kind of things. And one of the solutions I can think of right now is doing it more within your own space. You have all these lead gen options within socials. Just build your own database there or via your own landing pages, and then push them via email or WhatsApp, or like that might even convert better towards the Kickstarter. And then you measure click outs, and you'll probably lose some people along the way, but at least you have that data available, and you can see whether or not some certain groups of people are going to the page, and maybe even if they invest in the crowdfunding, you can track back towards your database and see who converted. So
you can match back, like you can match your Kickstarter database customers to your email list, for example. So there's other ways of tracking, but it's just all so old school, right? It's not what we're used. It's not automated at all. No. So it's a lot of manual work.
Yeah. And during the 45 days, you did 45 days, right? Yeah. During the 45 days, what is the best advice you can give to people who are doing a crowdfunding campaign to leverage those days the best?
So there's a few phases of Kickstarter. You have the first 2 days, first 48 hours, most important period of your campaign. I would say after that, it's the last 3 days. But the first 48 hours, you want to make sure you hit your target. That's why you shouldn't put your funding target too high. I would always advise 10 or 15K. Even if you need 100K, just put your goal around 15K, just so you can hit it quickly and the algorithm picks you up and people can see that you're fully funded. They trust the campaign, but there's still early birds available. So it's like a combination of social proof and urgency at the same time.
Then you increase the target?
No, target just stays the same, but you are banking on the fact that your first 3 days are successful, and after that, people come and they see that your campaign is being funded. More customers will come and they trust the campaign because it's funded. So then you'll hit that 100K. That's the bet you're making. But let's say you do put it on 100K and you don't hit your target within the first 3 days, you're going to lose maybe 50% or 40% of customers that think, oh, I don't know if I try, like, I don't think they're going to get funded, or it looks like they're not succeeding, or, you know, you only have a split second to catch the attention of a customer. And if they see funded in 2 days, that's already a lot more enticing to click on than if it's not funded.
Yeah.
And then I would say the middle part of the middle part of the campaign is usually the plateau phase. So if you look at the graph, it always goes straight up, plateau, straight up. Plateau phase is really where you really need to invest in your outside traffic coming in. So you really need to start working on like making sure there's enough PR articles coming out, making sure performance marketing is on point, trying everything with external communities to get more traffic, cross-promoting with other campaigns in your updates, like promoting them and having them promote you. That middle part is really where you need to start working on your marketing. And in the last 3 days, it's all about trying to skill those winners with performance marketing. So you're going to find some winning ads halfway through your campaign. Just spend as much as you can at a profitable level towards the end of the campaign, and make your creatives all about urgency that the campaign's ending soon. And an overall tip for crowdfunding from my end is benchmarking is the way to go. We had no experience with business or e-commerce, and we benchmarked everything to the best campaigns out there. We literally just analyzed all of their campaigns next to each other and picked all the common factors and put that into ours.
And you did it on Kickstarter or also on different platforms?
Kickstarter and Indiegogo, but mostly Kickstarter, because that's just the exact same experience that you're going to give. So,
yeah, and nowadays you also have these ad libraries, and I think there are also options where you can look back at the ads a company has been running in the past. So that might also be a great source to get some inspiration on okay, what ads have been running on Meta or TikTok, and use that to your benefit as well if you're doing the research to set up the campaign. But like you said, I think it's going to be you need quite some time to do it really properly. And I think we have also been underestimating these kind of things a little bit. If you're talking about a year, we're always very enthusiastic and maybe a bit too optimistic. But it's great to hear these insights. So, right, so you raised $1 million. What happened then?
So first year revenue was $1 million. We went from Kickstarter to Indiegogo, and first year was $1 million with insane margins, because our retail price was a lot higher than it is now. And we were 2 students, and we had Richard, our third partner, who joined right before the Kickstarter went live as well, as a co-founder. And he had e-commerce experience, or he'd been developing websites for years. That was his first business. And he helped us set up, the actual business. So he helped us code the website, get onto Shopify, set up all the SKUs, and make sure that we have another presence online, because we wanted to get off crowdfunding. It was getting a little toxic, like responding to comments every day, just way too intense. So we wanted to just build our own web shop and become a company. The first hires we did were all customer service and finance, because that was like the things we were missing. Like I was marketing, Rick was product, Richard was IT, but we had no finance and no customer service. So hired a few interns to do finance and customer service, then hired a good friend of ours, Tom, who later became a shareholder as well, and is now one of the 4 partners at Ekster. And he completely took the finance department, to a next level and owned it. And after about a year, he said, guys, I'm doing a master in Madrid, but I'm really loving it here. I would love to stay and become a partner. So
nice.
That's when our real kind of dream team of 4 guys, each in their own department, was built. And that also helped us set the foundation for what Ekster is today. And I would say that the biggest next steps for us were just making the right hires, because we just couldn't do everything ourselves anymore. It was fun doing it ourselves, and we learned a lot, but we needed those hands. And I think HR was one of our biggest pitfalls for many years, because we just didn't know how to hire the right people. We didn't know how to manage people. So I think that took so much time, and we made so many mistakes there. But I think that was the biggest next improvement we had to make.
On what platform did you start? What kind of e-commerce technology did you use?
Shopify. Yeah, and we always stayed with Shopify in the end.
Okay.
Never really found a platform that was better suited to what we were doing, and all of our competitors and the people that we idolize were all on Shopify, and it is a great platform. Like it's amazing for startups and scale-ups that want an easy platform to operate from the back end, but also a platform that continues to innovate and evolve. And yeah, they've come a long way.
And can you share something more about your tech stack you're currently using?
Yeah, so we are on Shopify for email. We use Klaviyo, and SMS we use Attentive. Both probably the front runners in their space.
Then do you use SMS only for transactional around an order, or do you also for promotional?
Also promotional, but only in the States, UK, and Canada, because those are really the locations where people are used to getting marketing messages with SMS. I guess it's becoming bigger in Europe as well, but we've focused on the ones where we know it's going to be successful. So for now, at least.
Yeah. So recently, WhatsApp launched these channels, so companies can build a channel and people can start following it, like a newsletter. On which I had a huge discussion a couple of years ago when we built it ourselves, and someone of Booking said, "Oh, then WhatsApp's going to be like a newsletter, and they're going to share all this stuff that I'm not looking for." And I say, "Yeah, email's never used to. It was never meant to be sending stuff that you're not looking for." But I think WhatsApp, especially if you send updates around an order, you could potentially not too often use it in a promotional way as well. If you around a birthday or something really cool is coming soon, and you're starting to see it more and more. I think
definitely, and I think it's going to creep up to us, and we'll be used to it before we know it.
Yeah.
Like it's the same with everything. It's the same with ads. Like 10 years ago, we were so annoyed when we saw one ad, and now every third post is an ad, and we're used to it. Like we don't even notice it anymore. So it's going to happen regardless. And for marketers, it's great. For the consumer, it's a little less great, but we'll be used to it at some point. Rest of the tech stack, so we're on G Suite pretty much with everything. Has always been a reliable partner, and we are spending a lot on Google as well for ads. So we do have some loyalty towards them, and we're very close with their team. They came to our office last year for 3 days and did a whole documentary on Ekster, which is super cool.
Oh, nice.
So they did like a deep dive into our sustainable practices and the partnership. But yeah, G Suite has been good to us. And besides that, when it comes to like performance, it's all the usual culprits. So it's Meta, TikTok, Pinterest, Reddit. What else? We're doing a lot of native advertising. So like those little articles you see on news web, like kind of like below an article on the New York Times, you always have like these 3 recommended articles, but they're actually advertorials. So we do a lot of that. Every social channel that's out there, we're doing ads. We're trying ads. Snapchat as well. We're trying it all pretty much.
And it sounds like you're testing and experimenting with these channels, which is great to hear because they were all about it. And what does your team look like?
We were almost like a marketing agency. So we have like 80% of our company's marketing.
I hope that you're not with 40 people like
that. we are. We're now 50 people.
Oh, wow.
So it's the team is huge. And we have it's spread across a few countries. So headquarters in Amsterdam. Most of our designers and editors are in Portugal. Most of our performance marketeers are in Lithuania. There's a huge hub of super experienced performance marketeers there. And a lot of our support and partnerships managers are in Argentina. And then a few people just spread across different countries. But the majority works out of Amsterdam. I would say the largest portion is performance marketing, content. So we have head of content and then like 2 designers, 2 video editors and 6 content creators, but those are all freelancers. We work with a lot of external content creators, so people that just constantly deliver new videos and photos for new ads. That's probably the biggest portion of our business. Then we have our retention and affiliate marketing and partnerships. So partnerships is really just reaching out to hundreds of creators per week to close a deal for either an Instagram post, YouTube video, or podcast. And that's become like a machine. So we have I think 6 people reaching out to just creators out there, and we have 1 person managing that team, making sure we hit the targets, which is become a very big part of our marketing department as well. And then the back end, so the whole operations, fulfillment, finance. I won't bore you with every detail, but it's sometimes we're really kind of taken aback by how many people are actually working for the brand. You know, it's crazy.
You mentioned sustainability efforts. Our podcast is called Redefine Growth, so we're looking for new ways to grow businesses, but also think growth should be more than only profit. Can you tell us a bit more about how you look at that point from an entrepreneur perspective?
Yeah, so we actually started with this from the very beginning. We believe that there's so many ways of doing sustainable business, but if it doesn't start from the very core of the business, then either it looks like greenwashing, or it is greenwashing, or it's just you're making your own life a lot more difficult. So if you go back to the very core of your business, your factories, where your products are made, if you make the right decision in selecting the right factory, then you're going to make your sustainable journey a lot more, I would say, easier to carve out. Because when we were picking our first factory, there's a few options. We had like the cheap, quick and dirty one. Then we had the one that worked with all the big brands, which seemed like very cool, but it was more expensive, and they had higher MOQs. And then we had everything in between, but those always seemed like they were either like faking it, or they weren't going to be there for the long run. So we decided to go for the bigger factory, which had all the certificates, works with all the bigger brands, and you know that their processes are on point. It takes longer and it's more expensive, but it just feels so much better to work with a partner that has done this before with bigger established brands and has their own sustainability practices in place. Over the years, as we became more profitable, we started investing a lot more in our sustainable practices. So it's always been a big goal of ours to become a B Corp. It was our goal since day one. And as of June this last year, we became a B Corp.
Congrats.
Which was a 3-year process. Like I thought maybe it would be like a 1-year process, but 3 years of slaving away at both like streamlining your whole supply chain, but also on a social level, how much work it requires is insane. Like within your team, the processes you need to implement, the community service, like it's like a whole 360 overhaul of your entire business. And they go very deep with their analysis of are you actually sustainable enough to become a B Corp? So we had a lot of different consultants help out. Like many different people in our team had to like take a step away from their job to get this on the road. And after 3 years of working at it, we finally got the B Corp certification last year, which was incredible. Feels really good. It's also a stamp of approval. And now it's all about keeping up with it. So continuing sustainable production, looking for material. Like we were overhauling our entire collection this year. We're going to fully recycled aluminum, no more unsustainable leather. So all leather is built with newer techniques where you don't waste as much water. Most of our products are vegan, so we don't really use that much leather anyway. And we're looking at apple leather, like made from skins of apple. We had like recycled windshields from cars made into leather. So it's all about like starting with the core materials in the factories, and then it trickles down to the rest of the business.
Yeah. And I've been there with the B Corp, but it's still... there's quite some discussion about the B Corp certificate right now, but I think it's worth it just to get a better understanding on how to do business in a good way, and learn from that, or maybe even go beyond the B Corp certificate. So amazing what you're doing in terms of sustainability. So we've been talking about sustainability. We've been looking back at your campaign where you raised $1 million. You gave great advice. What can we expect from Ekster in the future?
We, like I said, the team's huge. We have really professionalized all the processes, and I can finally proudly say that we're an actual brand. Like we're a real company. We're taking steps in building sustainable products and trying to really take over the travel industry now. So from just one innovative product, our vision is to expand to the travel industry, and all the products we make are innovative. So we won't just release any other suitcase or any other backpack. They have to have innovation that help people streamline their days. So like our mission, better gear for life on the go. We are expanding to travel gear, and this coming year, I think you're going to see a lot of cool travel products from us that you've never seen before, at least features that you've never seen before.
Super excited about that. So to all the listeners, go to Ekster. Maybe there's already some pre-order website where you can start buying a product. Is there something ahead when it comes to kids? Because I might lose my son even now and then if he has a wallet with a chip in it.
Yeah,
I will be capable of finding him.
Yeah, so we partnered up with Apple for our next tracker. It's launching in about 2 months. So it's a super slim credit card with the Find My tracking system in it.
Wow.
Which is nice because it'll be in your Find My ecosystem where you have all your other items that you're tracking. And it's super slim. It's the slimmest out there. So you won't even feel it in your wallet or in your pocket or whatever. Put it in your bag, in your suitcase.
Slide one right in the pocket of my son.
Exactly.
And then I can find him when he walks away. All right.
Exactly.
Well, amazing talk. Thank you so much, man. This was very inspiring. And I'm super excited to talk more about growing your business and sustainability and all the things we've been talking also before the pod. Thank you so much. You got a very unique Sprinter Sneakers sweater, which is not here right now, but I'll hand it over next time we see each other.
Appreciate it.
That was amazing. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it, man.
Cool. Wow. That was, again, a very interesting episode, the Redefine Growth podcast. Thanks to our guest, Olivier Momma. Did you like the episode as well? Please like and subscribe or leave your comments right below the video. And I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.